Hello, and welcome again to another episode of Programming a Chat Application in Node.js and WebSockets. So, last episode I just checked in my code to Git and pushed it up to GitHub, and I should just, I could show that right now. Let's see, yeah, this one's it. So, Dackerman/chat app tutorial. Now, the next thing I want to do is I noticed that there's a pretty bad bug that we have right now, which is that when you, I'll just show you. Node, index.js, turn off my audio here. Okay, so my server is running right now. Let's go ahead and run it. Localhost 3000, and if we do test, this works. That works. Now if we open another tab, these communicate with each other. Another tab. Right? So if I go over here, I can see this. Now this is great. This is the happy path. But if I kill this server, let's watch what happens here. So I have this, there's no output really on this server unless something happens, but if I say test again, and we get a pretty bad crash. So what happens? Well, it says error not opened, and it turns out what this is basically, if we look here, we're adding each connection, so every time we get a new connection, we add it to our list of clients. It's an object really based on client ID, and then we send our message out to all the other clients. However, some clients will drop out, and so if you close a tab, that connection will get broken, so that client no longer really exists. We're actually going to want to delete that from our list. So we don't currently do that, and what's happening is this for each loop right here is looping over those clients and trying to send a message, and because that client no longer has a connection, it throws an exception. Actually crashes the whole node server. So if I refresh, you can see that the server stopped running. It's kind of a bad bug. And so this is just like not handling the error case here. So one thing I'd like to do, so I guess what do we want to do here? So I think that what we should do is we should add another event for when the connection is closed. So I think, you know what, let's look it up. So right now, so I was looking at this WS library because I think ExpressWS uses it. Node, ExpressWS. This is the library we're currently using, is ExpressWS. And it's just saying WebSocket endpoints, but I believe that it really is just using the WS library. Yeah, dependencies WS. So I wanted to know, what other messages can we get? We basically want to say, like, if the WebSocket closes, or for whatever reason the WebSocket connection goes away, then we want to remove it from our list of clients. And we might want to handle errors as well in our send call, but we can do that separately. I want to get this first basic thing set up here. So I didn't see a lot of documentation on this page. I mean, if I go to the GitHub page and then we look at it here, I mean, there's API. It's saying WS instance.getWSS returns the underlying WebSocket server handler. But it doesn't say much about what else is on this thing. Like, what is it other than having the .clients? So I think the thing is you want to look at the actual WS library. So I'm not a big fan of the way that this library is working. I mean, they're basically wrapping this other one and connecting it to Express, which is great, but then they don't really document very well. I mean, it's true, you know, a lot of their code seems to be just wrapping the existing WS library, and you wouldn't want to duplicate all of that, but at the same time, at least point to it and say, like, we use this underlying library, and therefore, you know, you should look at the docs for it. Anyway, so figuring that out, that this is the library we want, we should be able to look at some more examples. So we have an on open, and I think on message, WS on message. So there's probably a WS on close or something like that. Here we go. WS on close. So let's use that. I believe it's this one, yeah. So let's go ahead and say client. So what is it? How did I get the client ID again? Looks like I made it up here. Okay, so I should just be able to say delete client's client ID. You could also set this object to undefined or something. I believe, actually, I don't use this often. Let's say script delete key. I think that's what we want. I'm just double checking here. Right, delete. It's an interesting, it's an extra keyword here. And there's a nice discussion, but yeah, there's delete, or you could just set it to undefined or something like that, but I think delete makes more sense. So now that we're doing that, I'm not sure if we're actually going to run into any sort of contention. I mean, I guess if we fail to send a message, we should probably just, you know, if we're trying to send our message out to all the clients and they don't get one, I don't think that that's cause to crash the server. Maybe it's a cause to log it, and then we'll see if it actually ever happens. Now, granted, the errors that were happening were, you know, we're trying to send it to a client that doesn't exist. Technically, we could ignore that, but I didn't want this map to get too crazy big, right? Because as people join and then they leave, this map doesn't get cleaned up and eventually gets huge. And it just seems kind of sloppy to be like iterating over a list and have a bunch of errors and ignore them because a normal situation happened. But if that client drops out somehow and it doesn't get deleted right away, you know, I wonder, you know, or if there's some just error in general and in sending it, we should probably keep track of that. And I think just logging it is fine, not sending it. We could try to do like retries or something eventually. So when we're trying to send messages to clients and it fails, we could retry it. But this is a chat app right now. I don't think we need to go down that rabbit hole just yet. So, right. So what was I going to do? So on send, I want to catch an error. And errors can be thrown from this thing. So clearly, I think it's when I called send, it threw an exception. I believe if you pass in a callback that it actually handles that properly. So let's see. Let's express WS. Yeah, error handling best practices. So we can detect it this way. So let's do it. So we have ws.send function, and then get an error back. So if error is not undefined, and we'll warn on the console the error. Maybe I'll say error. Okay, and as you can see down here, it's saying that we can use a try catch as well, but that only handles the synchronous part. Because this is all inherently asynchronous, you can't guarantee that you're going to catch stuff. I think it's better to just put it here. Okay, I think our app should be a little bit more robust now. Try it again. Test 1. Let's open a new window. 2, 3. Let's make sure it still gets back to the other server, and it does. Kill this one. 4. That still worked, and here it is. Cool, and the ID is still correct. So we're incrementing it each time someone connects. Okay. Okay, so that's fixed. So let's see here. Let's check it in. I use a plugin for Emacs called Magit. You can see down here, M-A-G-I-T, major mode. So what it does is it lets you see the changes you've made right in Emacs, and you can kind of like, you can stage things. So that's like a git add, and then I can commit stuff. So I can do CC, and I type my commit message, so I can say fixed bug, fix unhandled exception after closing connection. Oh, and also, by the way, this is kind of neat. If you type it too long of a message, it starts to be red. So it'll tell you how many characters you have on the first line to kind of fit the git standard. The connection just happens to be exactly enough. I want to say, let's see, when a tab is closed, the client's connection drops, the server was still trying to send a message to it and not handling error properly. Added code to handle, to log errors when they happen, and remove the client on connection close. That's a pretty good git commit message, I believe. And if you noticed, also the message gets wrapped at, I think it's 80 characters or something, whatever it's supposed to be. Maybe it's 70, which is pretty neat. Commit. So I have it committed, and I can do a push to upstream, and it's pushed. Cool. Thanks for watching. If you want to know when more of these videos come out in the future, then go ahead and click subscribe below. However, if you actually want to give me some feedback on it or get these videos early, I generally post them unlisted and ask for feedback from my email subscribers first. So if you want to do that, go ahead to https://fullstack.industries/signup, and from there you enter your email address, and I'll send you emails that tell you, when new things come out, or, kind of behind the scenes looks into, my process and what I'm doing next.